Welcome to Sacred Success Salon, where we are up-leveling what it means to be successful, diving deeply into owning your power, living your purpose, and claiming your prosperity. I am your host, Anna Kowalska, and today it is my joy and pleasure to introduce you to Jennifer Riley. Hello, Jennifer.
Hello! Woo! I'm super excited to be here and join in this rich conversation.
Oh, and it's going to be so rich. I'm so excited. So let me just introduce you to our viewers so they know who you are. Jennifer is a wealth consciousness coach and transformational healer. She is a creator of Bountiful Evolution. Oh, that's just so beautiful. So through her company, she supports professional women to uplevel their careers, prosperity, and fulfillment by aligning their soul gifts and purpose with their highest path of wealth. She does it through advanced manifestation in consciousness wealth coaching, intuitive and empowerment mentoring, multi-dimensional and transformational healing. Jennifer is committed to co-creating a regenerative, am I saying it right? Regenerative world through supporting others in unleashing their soul gifts and transforming wealth on the planet. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Regenerative. It's such a big word, and ESL. So our viewers already know I screwed up a few words in the process because English second language.
Yeah, it may be the most important word that's in there. So I love that you had to,
I screwed it up.
Yeah, I love that you had to say it a few times because it's a poignant and important word. Yeah.
Yeah. Why?
Well, it's what we're really up to. When we talk about success and purpose and vision and manifesting, yes, it's about what type of life are we crafting that's fulfilling for us. And it's so much bigger than that. What's the mission that you're contributing to co-creating in the new paradigm of a regenerative world? And when I say regenerative, that's systems that work for everyone. And we're up to big work with that, putting our sleeves back, bringing our gifts in to shift systems so that the earth and humanity get to thrive together.
Oh, yay. I got chills.
Me too.
Woo! Yeah, exciting. Oh, yeah, we're starting at such high level. I love it, love it, love it. So Jennifer, thank you for that, because what you just presenced it's such a beautiful summary. And I said it right before we got on. I had a sense that you will give us this view, like an overarching view of what we've been doing here in a salon. And what you just presenced is exactly the conversations we've been having. The way you just said it was just so all-encompassing. Creating systems, new systems, being part of creating new systems in the world that we are now deciding what it's going to look like, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's an exciting time and a scary time, scary and exciting, that can feel the same in the body. And depending on what story we're telling. And it's a crucial time. We're at a threshold of times. And how it is so important that we're discovering and bringing our gifts together, because that is really what is creating, we can say, the new paradigm. We can say restoring. We're also bringing old ways of being and integrating them with new ways of being, so that we're returning to regenerative community. It's good. It's important. And it also, there's a grit element to it, because it is presented to us, especially in the United States, as it can be an easy or default choice to support systems that are destructive, that we may not even know or not even aware of. So all of our choices matter, and they're our vote into what system we're creating. And we're the thresholders, we're the caretakers, we're the stakeholders of the regenerative systems we're bringing forward. So that's why it's even more intense for us now. There's a lot at stake.
Yeah.
It's exciting to live in purpose. And it's also, there's this fire of there is a lot at stake for our personal lives and for the planet. And so there's something coming through about that fire of importance with it.
Urgency?
Yeah, that's a great word. Urgency. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Oh,
that is a great word.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to keep going with this. So I'm going to plant it right here for a minute so we come back, because what you're speaking to is just so freaking important. But I cannot let you escape the one question everybody's been answering.
Sure.
What is your definition of success?
Yeah, that's a great, it's funny. You told me this right before we got on. I'm going to ask you, what's your definition of success? And I thought, well, I'm not even going to think about that. I'm going to see what comes through. And success is evolving too.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're finding again and again is you may have a definition or idea of success,
Mm-hmm.
and then you reach it, and then it crumbles because there's not fulfillment, there's not contribution, it's not what you thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
So this next level of soul success is emerging through us, and we're transforming what that means. So when you ask me what success means, I will say it's evolving.
Mm-hmm.
I will say it's a win-win outcome. Success
Mm-hmm.
is a win-win outcome where we're considering the triple bottom line of everyone and all life that's influenced by what we're up to.
Mm-hmm.
And success is what actually matters to the passion of your heart. Are you fully expressed and contributing? Are you experiencing fulfillment and joy? So there's all these things that we all individually have different views of what a fulfilling life looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And what is that for you and for your own heart?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
I
let me
love
see if
it.
there's anything else there. Yeah, I think success is also when we've given back to the earth, we've bioremediated those systems that are chaining us in. When we're unleashed from fear, from who we're supposed to be, from what we think it means to be successful, from the paradigms of how we are destructive to ourselves and the planet. So success is a both and.
Ooh,
Right?
I love that.
Bioremediating the systems that don't work for your own thoughts, for your own energy field, for the planet, for
Mm-hmm.
how we work with each other. And
Yeah.
as we're evolving in a win-win, then our heart's vision evolve. And I find that when I work with women, and you might find this too, Anna, that they'll come with a vision.
Yep.
And I sometimes get my witch cackle on because I have a knowing that it evolves.
Yeah.
As we're unleashing more and more of what our soul's mission is here, and what really brings us joy and fulfillment and contribution, and it evolves. And I watch that again and again, the evolution of the vision of success,
Mm-hmm.
as we deeply connect with what the F is my soul here to give.
Yes. Oh, you are absolutely right. It is, and we had this conversation with a couple of the guests, that it's this, like, we have this vision, we have this thing we think we're here to do, and our soul keeps leading us. Well, yeah, okay, it's that, and then there's this, and then there is this, right? And it's this. It rolls up to, you never done, you never get there, right?
Right. So that can actually support you if you're desiring to have some peace and calm, to let go of the trying to arrive there.
Right.
And that's why, my business name that came through years ago was Bountiful Evolution, because creation is expanding and creating upon itself.
Mm-hmm.
And we're evolving. And so I completely agree with you. It's our success, our vision, our mission keeps evolving on itself. And we get to be a part of that unfoldment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's magic.
Mm-hmm.
That's rich. And it also requires this element that is hard for many people. Like putting my hand in a fist, it's this word that you pulled for our card, right? Surrender.
Yes. Yeah.
Can you walk in the great mystery in faith and in service, and open up your hands and your heart, without knowing exactly what that's going to look like?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So this is what's coming in for us to talk about next. Surrendering. But before we even go there, in your definition of success, you started to talk about systems. And one of the reasons why I wanted to have you as a guest speaker is because you are such an expert on money, but this consciousness of money. And as you were speaking of systems, of course, money is one of the systems that we use in the world right now, whether it serves or doesn't serve. And so can we can we like keep going there and not even start because we already did. We're so in it. And I'm like, there are so many strings I want to pull on from what you just shared. But systems is definitely, money is definitely one of the systems that has had a hold on us for so very long. And I look at money as it is one of the things that is completely, will completely have to change as we evolve, as we step into our next evolution, but it's still very present in our existence, right? So let's talk a little bit about money from this very, I know we'll get into practical aspects of it, but money and consciousness, and how do you see it?
Yeah, so this is a great question. And overall, the passion and guidance of my soul is around wealth, and what does that mean for us, and how do we evolve that in our hearts and on the planet. And money is a part of that, and money is evolving. And so when we talk about systems of money, I think you said something about being, did you say trapped? There was something.
Could be. If I didn't say, it's energetic coming through.
Yeah, something about that. So
yeah.
What is important to reframe, especially if you're here and you're a change maker and either you know your mission or you're discovering your mission, it is crucial that you get yourself aligned with an expansive consciousness around wealth and particularly money. And we're at a time where we get to recode the money on the planet. What do I mean by that? Every single time you're touching money, you're using your card, even if you're up to cryptocurrency, every time you're working with that. And cryptocurrency is evolving money. That's one way it's evolving. And I'm not an expert in that yet. But it shows us that we're breaking through paradigms and we're expanding what's possible around how we exchange resources. So money is a physical manifestation of soul wealth in form. And yeah, physical manifestation of soul wealth in form. And
love that.
So yeah, what's so cool about money is that it can show you a lot about where your areas of transformation and growth are an opportunity for you. So whatever stories or limitations or judgments or struggles or projections that you have on money are a powerful opportunity for you to heal and resource those, shift those to having an empowered story around money, that you get to do good on the planet with it. That money is a part of a resource for your mission. That money is an ally for you to support you in your mission and shifting systems. And it's a really crucial conversation right now. And it's a big thing that we're up to. Because what happens when conscious change makers with integrity and with vision, conscious change makers begin to make a lot more money? That's already happening. And then we're flowing money into organizations that are doing powerful regenerative work on the planet, that are living into the vision of what's possible. So we get to be an ally for that. And there's a whole rising happening. And there are many change makers and spiritual workers and healers that are still living inside of the broke healer paradigm, quote unquote. And it's time for that to shift. Because you play small, you hold other people small, and you're not unleashing what's possible for you in an empowered relationship with money on the planet.
Yeah. And I love what you said. This is so tangible and so practical. As you get to touch money in whatever form it is, whether it's electronic, whether it's physical, tangible money, you as somebody who really takes that on, what you just shared, right, about money, if you really take that on and you really be that, and you touch money, it flows through you in whatever form it is, you get to infuse, our viewers get to infuse money as a concept with this whole new paradigm, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is huge. And what happens too is that you'll notice, if you're like, I don't know what my issue is with money or what my stories are, just notice what comes up when you're going to exchange money, or you're pulling money out of your wallet, or you're using your debit card. What is your immediate energetic response for being with money and your exchange of resource? What are your thoughts? And then infuse something different. Infuse abundance of resource, infuse love and gratitude. And that can sound like, oh, infuse love and gratitude. And it's really powerful. And it changes your orientation of who you're being with money. It changes your access to connecting with source power, and also creating a wave on the planet of let's raise the frequency of our exchange of money and the resource of money.
Yeah,
Yeah, and so
absolutely.
we're either recoding, if we circle back around to what we were originally talking about crumbling paradigms and how our choices make a difference with who we're being and how we're evolving culture for systems that work for people. Every time you exchange money, you're either contributing to a paradigm of lack or not enough or greed or evil or whatever those stories are, or systems of oppression, or you're contributing to life that thrives for us all. And it is in those choices. I mean, you may be doing that 20 times a day, and then you're recoding your system and opening up to receiving more so that you can be a flow resource for what source is bringing through you.
Yeah. I love that word you keep using, recoding. I love it. I love it for money, because I haven't heard anybody use that with money. And I know that's what's happening. Like, we are recoding the matrix.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And if we're all connected, right? We think about this collective consciousness. So you are being a contribution to other people and having it be easier, having grace for them when you're shifting how you're coding money. We can keep using that word. You're opening up a path for more ease and flow versus densifying the intensity around that people have around money. Not enough money, anger with money, all of these things we project onto money that aren't about money, but they're projected onto money.
Right.
So it's a really powerful and very simple practice that you can do right now.
Yeah, and so I know a lot of our viewers that are watching us just from conversations we've been having, they are already on their path and they're already enlightened. And I think, and I know there are still, no matter how much we know about this stuff, right, the conversation we're having, there is still this journey to have it be tangible and in an experience, right? Like experiencing it. And I know you do, you experience it, which is why you speak of it in such a beautiful way, and I can feel the truth of it. And I know that there are so many people who are enlightened, who are spiritual, who are healers, who are creatives and connected to spirit, yet money doesn't fit into that paradigm. And I think that's why that what you just said, A, using word coding, B, practically understanding that as you touch money and if you receive money with gratitude instead of, and noticing what happens, right? Like, oh my God, I'm taking money away from this person, right? Like they already like, and I have these conversations with beautiful enlightened beings. I'm taking money from this woman and she has 2 children, and how is she going to feed them? And I'm like, if that's the conversation you're having while you're taking money from her, then you are putting that on her. You are putting it on the money.
And yeah, and how small are you holding that person?
Yes.
Right. And this is one of the things that I, tell healers and change makers that this is interesting. This conversation has been coming up recently that, when we move from single sessions into packages and programs, when we charge an amount that is an investment and a stretch for someone, and maybe even scary for us because we know it's stretching us to the next level of our work, it's holding everyone high. It's holding everyone in possibility. And it's opening up a portal for the next level of expansion. So stop making excuses or stories up about yourself or other people. I've been that single mom on welfare, poor. And how do I language that? One of the most powerful things I ever did, it gives me goosebumps, was stretch myself to being absolutely terrified to pay for a mentor, to invest in having support. And that person believed in me. That person wasn't like, oh, you're a single mom and I'm like, yeah, I'm not sure how I'm going to feed my kid tomorrow. This is a decade ago.
Right.
And having that person who was enrolled in what was possible for me and an ally for me was crucial for the blueprint I was rising into. And it was terrifying. And so I say that because and many people here are entrepreneurs, when you're on calls with people and you're connecting with them and you're serving with them, hold them high. Don't get enrolled in their limiting stories, because you're you're solidifying a story for them that's only true because they're believing it, and it's going to keep them stuck.
Yeah.
You might not talk to them again. Be brave and say, well, what else is possible for you? I'm not enrolled. That the reason you're not investing is because of money, quote unquote.
Right.
Maybe it's because you don't believe in yourself. Maybe it's because you failed before. Maybe you're terrified to show up in a bigger way. People project on money all the time. And this is a big thing in those conversations. People will use it as an excuse. And they may even believe it, or they may just use it as an excuse.
Yeah.
So if we put down projecting and blaming on money, what's actually really going on? And that's where there's deep, deep healing and empowerment available. When we stop projecting on money or anything else, you know, your partner, your job, your business, your clients, and you turn it within, and what's really going on here that I'm projecting, then there's an access to integration and expansion versus a current of victimhood, quote unquote, that's acceptable. Now, I want to give a disclaimer with that, because I'm in the United States, you're in the United States. I'm not speaking about people who are in really, really deep poverty. And I've been in deep poverty in the past. I'm not talking about people in other countries who don't have the same access that we have. So I'm speaking about, how do I language that? I think my point in it is not to pretend that systems of oppression are not happening, to not pretend that some of us have more privilege than other people. And that's another part of our responsibility, is expanding access, right? So there's a both and here.
Yes.
And again, if someone had viewed me, oh, this is just a welfare mom and she's not going to be able to pay me and she's not going to amount to more, that could have kept that story. I wasn't enrolled in that story, but I'm sharing that because we must hold people in the vision that we know is possible for them, and then flow resources towards breaking down oppressive systems so that other people have access to opportunity. Does that make sense?
Oh my gosh, you have no idea how well. Yes, absolutely. And that's been one of the things it's my intention to presence that there are different places where we all in the world start from, right? My assumption is that if somebody is watching this, they have access to internet. They probably have access to so many other things that some other people, you know, in a starving world may not have. You know, if you're in the middle of a war, one of the war-stricken parts of the world, that's different. That's a different conversation. But you're probably not watching this, right? And I feel so. Circling back to what we opened with, you opened it so beautifully. Having responsibility to live our purpose and being of service. I'm totally skewing the words, but that's how I heard it. Being of service, up leveling, serving expansion while being in our own purpose. And I feel like the people who are called the word success, right? Like sacred success, yes, but the word success, people who are being called to it already recognize that we have an opportunity, right? Like you were a mother, like you said, you were a mother on welfare. You didn't know where the food was coming from, but you knew that where you are living, there is opportunity. You are not surviving a war, right? You are not in a starving country. It was the situation you were in, and you knew you could get yourself out, and you knew that it was your responsibility to, right?
Yes. And I knew that it would serve my purpose. And it was very interesting. And I talk about this story sometimes. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I remember the moment. I remember the moment of knowing that my experience of homelessness as a single mother would support liberating thousands of people. And it was a moment that shifted fear and anxiety and struggle into peace and into surrender, into willingness to serve. And it gives me goosebumps even to say it. And without that part of my narrative, rephrase that is part of my narrative. And it's a powerful part of the narrative that gives me a level of soul authority around being an agent for transformation of wealth on the planet, because I have known poverty and the transformation of soul and of currency, of finances that came along with doing that empowerment work.
Mm-hmm.
So I share that because for everyone who's listening, and you've probably heard this on this series a bunch of times, you know, those deep, dark places, the most painful places that we've been, that we've overcome, or we're still overcoming, that's where the gold is for us to serve. That's where the contribution is.
Mm-hmm.
And so if anyone who's listening is turning away from that, or making themselves wrong for that, or not willing to share that or be transparent about it, know that you're going to stay flat until you do. You're going to be struggling until you do. And when I say struggle, I don't necessarily mean financially. You may be struggling in terms of fulfillment and joy and these other pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And once you're willing to honor the gift of the shadow,
mm-hmm.
the gift of the struggle, the gift of your own personal oppressive narrative, wherever that is, whatever you've overcome, there's a level of gold that you're contributing. And when we talk about gifts, this is where your juice is for the gifts. Yeah. And I remember when I got the guidance to begin to direct around money and wealth, and I was like, no fucking way. There's no, excuse my language, there is no way, source, goddess, that I am going to talk about that. Yeah. I was terrified. And I remember the first time I was interviewed, and the woman knew part of my story, and she wrote it in an email to thousands of people, right? And told everyone. And I it was so intense for me to have that be public. Yeah. And now it's like, well, of course, you know, so it was a threshold of that terror of having that transparency around the pain of my own story and the shame of that.
Yeah.
And now that gets to serve other people and hope and possibility for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of my story, and everyone has their own narrative around that.
Mm-hmm.
Around that. Everyone has their own narrative around what is that deeper, painful place that they've overcome to contribute.
Yeah. And the thing that they are petrified and mortified to share.
Yeah. So if you're playing safe in what you're sharing and serving, that's why things are flat. Yeah. When you're willing to actually go to the painful place and be transparent, we're in an age of transparency. People want authenticity. Mm-hmm. Tell the truth about your story and don't dismiss what you've overcome. Sometimes I talk to women and they're not really sure what their purpose is. And then I hear some of their story and I'm like, we just came up with your purpose in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Right? Because you've overcome this really painful thing and you can contribute that in a big way.
Yeah.
So go where it's painful. Mm-hmm. Go where you're afraid to go in service to something bigger than you, because it unfolded for you on purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And it doesn't have to be traumatic and dramatic. And I know that's one of the places that I've seen people go is sometimes we compare ourselves because we're not where other people are. And sometimes we compare ourselves because we haven't had it as rough as some people. Right?
Yes. And yes, everyone's got different, you know, levels of their stories and their journeys. Mm-hmm. And everyone has had something that they've overcome or that they're overcoming. Everyone's had a deep challenge, something they're shamed about, something they don't want to admit, something that they don't think is a big deal. Like they were able to overcome emotional eating and lost 20 pounds, or they were in an abusive relationship and now they're in a loving relationship and they don't think about that. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't always have to be traumatic or dramatic, but I will say it is a place that's been something painful that's been transformed. Transformed.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
And most likely you may think isn't that big of a deal, or you're not aware of the gold that it carries. Because a lot of times our gifts, our purpose, our contribution, it's so normal to us that we assume other people also have the same gift, or that it's not a big deal, or other people have overcome it, when really our unique story matters and makes a difference to people.
Yeah. And you keep using word gold, and I am so going to connect it to money.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, because it's this richness that we are withholding, right? Thus, the richness is being withheld from us. That's been part of my.
That's powerful.
Oh, thank you. That's been part of my my own learning. I don't withhold. I'm generous. I'm generous with what I share. And then learning deeper and deeper layers that I constantly come up against, that I'm like, but I'm not sharing this, but I'm not sharing that. And as soon as I do, there is a flow and a movement that opens up that wasn't there before. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So this might even serve people listening. Is there somewhere in your life that you're not willing to tell the truth or shine a light on?
Mm-hmm.
Something you're afraid to admit or you don't think is valuable?
Yeah.
And how can you bring that forward? How can you vulnerably be willing to offer and share that? And I love that you said that piece, because sometimes when things are tangled or not moving or they're flat, we can move into the web in a different way to open up.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that you shared that piece. I think that's really, really powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to go back to again where we started, because there was this as you were sharing your vision, I heard this this piece. I'm just going to say it without qualifying it. Being of service while fulfilling your soul purpose. There are two conversations that are happening, and I hear them happening at two different levels. I want to merge them. And I think you can be the one to merge this for us. We each have a unique soul purpose we're here to fulfill, some kind of a thing we came here to bring through our life into the world. I know you believe that, because that's part of your
Yes,
work,
yes,
right?
yes, absolutely.
So there is this push and this call to be for us, who we are, my self-expression. And then on the other side of that is like, but I'm here to also be of service. I'm here to somehow serve people. And as I say this, I know that it merges, but I want to hear it. I want to hear your version of how do you see this, like being selfish in fulfilling my self-expression, right? And at the same time being part of the universe, being part of the changing system and part of the new paradigm in service to other people. How do you merge these two?
Well, that's a great question, and that's a both and. I mean, that one isn't existing without the other. It's your sole purpose is not you in isolation. You know, we're all holograms of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, honestly, transparently, that question is slightly, what's the word? Like there's a question mark with it, because I don't even think of the orientation of soul purpose or you're here for a reason without contribution connected to that. We don't live in isolation. We're regularly in engagement and interconnection with each other. And that's how we're rising and thriving together. And so and this is one of the reasons this is an important question, even though it's a question that, of course, they're together for me. It's like we don't have to bridge that because it's already together. And this is a great way for people to expand in what they're up to. So if you're not getting the results that you want, if it's feeling flat or unfulfilling, then you may be being self-serving. And there's a both and, because it can be joyfully about what our soul desires. Yet without the extension of a contribution, it goes flat. It implodes on itself. And it doesn't evolve what your soul's asking for. So, and this often can come up with entrepreneurs. And we know that people who are successful in business are highly generous. They're giving, they're looking up. So instead of what can I get and why is this about me? It then becomes we. It then becomes, how am I actually looking up to give? And I have a mentor who swears by, and she's in 10 figures. I mean, so obviously her business is really successful.
Yeah.
She swears by, if you're stuck in any way, look up and see where you can give right now. So you make it bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
And businesses do fall flat when they are just about themselves. Now we can even apply this to art. It's like you may do art for your own process.
Are you reading my mind?
You may do art for your own process. Like there's a variety of art that I do for my own creative expression and process.
Mm-hmm.
Yet it supports my contribution because of it's giving me a place to move energy. It's giving this power of creation. And so it does serve the web of the bigger piece. And also there's art, like I was in a show last year. I don't know if you saw that show. It was in LA, but it was with a bunch of other beautiful entrepreneurial women. And it was amazing because we were contributing to a bigger vision around what's possible in vision. And it influenced thousands of people and opened up their hearts to vision and possibility. So we can use our art as activism, we can use our art as vision, or it can be part of our personal process.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what I was seeing in my mind before you said that, I love how connected we are. As you were talking about, it's self-expression, but it doesn't happen in a silo. There have to be other people. I'm like, there is an artist creating in their studio, right? I had a vision of this artist painting a painting in a studio, but at some point this painting is going to get out into the world and somebody will experience it. And that will be your contribution as an artist, is that people get to experience your art and somehow they transform through it. And I'm like, even that's even true for people who have more of like a self-focused purpose. At some point it does have to get out into the world, people will see it, and then they will get transformed. And this art doesn't mean anything unless it is being experienced by other people for this artist, right?
Yeah, and even a self-focused purpose. For me and my consciousness, I can't separate purpose from our soul gifts and how that contributes to the world. And it may be your family, it may be your neighbors, it may be your immediate community, it may be a larger platform. Not everyone is going to be Oprah, and not everyone's soul calling is to do that, and she's an incredible woman. And there's people who do small acts. They own farms in their communities, they talk to their neighbors, they make extra soup and contribute it. So there's a variety of ways that we give and serve. And I would say that if a purpose, this is an interesting vision. I'm thinking of a tortured artist, if someone is self-serving in their purpose or really self-focused in their purpose, they can implode.
Yeah.
That can look like explosions, relationships that don't work, finances that failed, addiction, because they're not actually linking it into contribution. And this is one of the challenges with United States culture, is that it can be very self-serving and glorifying. And this was one of my challenges with this industry in general. I remember when I had, I was my coach, I had to put a picture of myself on my banner for my website years ago. I didn't want to. I'm like, this work is not about me. And she's like, well, this is how you show up in the industry so that people know you and can see you and trust you. And now I'm over that. But I had to bridge that, even though, it's all about having, my picture and it's all over the website. And there's this piece that for me, I really wanted to have none of that because it's not about me. So it's an interesting, it's interesting to navigate the web of the constructs, and now I'm like, okay, sure, it's important to bring this piece.
Yeah.
It's important for my business, for people to know my face inside of my business.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's another evolution of hiding inside of that, but there's a both and. Both and.
Yeah.
Kind of just went around in a different part of the web of what we're talking about, but I think it'll be relevant for some people listening.
Yeah, and what I hear in this, and I just want to touch upon it. It had a little bit of sound. What I hear in this, and I just want to touch upon it because this is a conversation I was having this morning with a group of women. If we, and I hear this in what you just said too, if we, sometimes this self-focus, like it's not about, sometimes this layer of self-focus can actually stop us because we focus on all the ways that it's about me, meaning what will people think about me? How does it look? How people judge me, right? What does it mean about me? How will I be rejected, right? So a way to get out of that is to look at like the larger contribution and say, but if I am here to be part of a whole, right, then these things don't have a place, and we can spot them and overcome them or move through them, right?
Yeah, this is great. Yeah, because this is so powerful, because we like to say that building a business around your gifts
Mm-hmm.
is some of the deepest transformational work that you'll ever do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tremendously liberating
Mm-hmm.
to get over yourself and
Mm-hmm.
say, I'm willing to be on mission. Even if I fall, even if I fail, even if someone's a hater online, even if I'm embarrassed about something, even if it's not perfect,
Mm-hmm.
it's time for me to put it out and contribute.
Yeah.
And it's in the doing that we get to witness where
Mm-hmm.
the growth is for our soul, where the
Mm-hmm.
transformation is, versus waiting and preparing and making it about us. But there's a both
Yeah.
and,
Right.
because sometimes, especially women, will abandon themselves. So we do
Mm-hmm.
get to take care of ourselves. We do get to have it be self-serving. What brings me joy? What brings me creativity? What lights me up?
Mm-hmm.
What feels amazing to me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then we get to also give from that place. And so it's important for us, again, especially as women, to not abandon in service of contribution.
Yes.
So
Yes.
there's a both and in a lot of this conversation.
Yes, and I'm going to, because we're coming close to the end of our time together.
Yeah.
I know, so sadly, looping it back into money. Say it fast. Looping it back into money. Same thing goes in a conversation with money. And tell me if this is true for you. That if what you've experienced and witnessed with your clients, we can use money as an excuse to keep ourselves small, to keep ourselves hidden, so we don't have to face all this fear of rejection. And we can also use money to keep ourselves small, not give to ourselves what we really need, right? Or on the other side, we can use money to expand our impact in the world and expand what we allow ourselves to have. You can't have a great massage if you don't have money to pay for it.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Right?
you could trade for a great massage, but I only say that because I could hear someone be like, yeah, I could trade for that. I actually don't recommend trades. That's probably another conversation.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yes, I agree with you. I
Yeah.
agree with you.
Yeah. And I use massage because that's just what came in, but you can't trade for a house, right? And if you want to live in a beautiful environment that empowers you to be who who you are here to be, you want to sell beautiful, safe environment to live in, whatever that looks like, you're gonna need money.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or, I mean, and we get to experience pleasure. I love luxury and I love the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yes, I agree with you. It's interesting, all the both ands in the conversations
Mm-hmm.
around how are we in integrity and generosity with our resources, and also how do we enjoy them?
Mm-hmm.
How are we in the pleasures of this life as well? So it's not being a contribution with your purpose doesn't mean sacrificing what you want. It doesn't mean draining yourself out.
Yes.
Right? So there's a both and there. And this is another place that I tripped up on this for a long time, that I just need to be tithing, which I do. Tithing is a huge part of how I give and how I coach people to give. And there was this thing where I was just like, I felt like all I had to do was give and not let myself actually receive and enjoy. And that was a deeper healing process for me, where there can be a both and. Just because I'm experiencing wealth and luxury doesn't mean that someone else is deprived of what they need. And actually, I can serve in a better way when I'm able to give myself the things that I truly desire without making them wrong or withholding them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that was so good. That was so good. I'm like, oh my gosh, let's have a whole conversation about receiving.
Yeah, that could be a whole conversation, and layers and layers and layers of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and finding that balance between giving cannot happen in a world of polarity, which I believe that we live in. You cannot have giving without receiving, and so many of us have such a difficulty. Like, go into that giving mode, forget to receive, and then swing into. But now it has to be about me because I am so depleted. And it's this, this and finding that sweet spot in the middle, right? Where the conversation we were just having before we got on with you guys on the recording was about finding that flow, right? And that when to surrender and when to surrender and sit back and wait and receive and move on what's going on, and when to move beyond and through the obstacles that are showing up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And that's a whole nother really rich
Yeah.
conversation, and the distinction between those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. Oh my gosh. I could just sit here, pour another cup of tea, and have this
No, me
conversation
too.
with you.
I know we could totally go for like 8 hours because there's
Yeah.
so many pieces that we pulled on. And so I
Yes.
also want to say to people who are listening is that you don't necessarily, if you're feeling overwhelmed, like just catch what lands for you. And I like to think of it often as a web. We may go over here, but really this piece is going to pull on your money piece. So instead of like taking a bunch of notes and trying to get all of it, because there's activations happening as we're talking on this level too. So let yourself receive what stands out for you and integrate that. And you can come back to the recording for a bunch of these interviews and get another level of it. But sometimes it can be one thing. That's what I love about these series. Sometimes it's one thing. And these series are a great example of abundance and prosperity because we're all contributing to each other here. Space of there's plenty for all. We all have gifts to share, and our communities get to be richer for connecting with each other. And it can be one thing that you hear from a speaker that totally explodes your paradigm and has things expand differently for you.
Totally. It could be one thing in a conversation, one thing in a whole series. And this one thing in a whole series could make a huge difference. Then you are winning.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
Oh, that was so awesome. Those and you again gave like a beautiful encapsulation of like why these things work, why I wanted to be a part of creating the salon, because it is all coming from a place of abundance, co-creating, and being in prosperity, being in the prosperity mindset. I love that. Oh, it's awesome, Jennifer. So I know you have a gift for our viewers.
I do.
Yes. And you guys, the button is right below this video. You can go and download, but don't go yet. Jennifer, could you share?
Yes. So it's two parts. So it's focused on money and wealth. And one part is the spiritual activation of literally your DNA expanding into your wealth potential. So it's a visionary journey. Do not do it while driving. Make sure you create sacred space for it. It's only like 10 minutes. But it's powerful and you'll integrate. And then the other part of it is a written guide around effective and practical and magical, we can put that in parentheses, practical ways to shift your relationship with money in your life. Practical ways. I think there's 8 or 9 in the guide that will be different than how you're operating. Most of them will be different than how you're operating now, and will begin to shift your story around money.
And the whole idea of combining spiritual with practical is what we are having conversation about here. So your gift is just so beautiful and so on point.
Awesome.
I love it. So you guys, make sure that you download the gift, have the experience with the meditation, with the activation, and then go implement the practical tools, because I know I've used them and they're really powerful and they work. So make sure you claim the gift. And for everybody else, how can they find you, Jennifer? How can they find you to learn more about what you do?
That's a great question. You can go to bountifulevolution.com and you can join. I think that actually you can also join the list if you go to get this gift. And then that's the best way, really. I am on social media some. I am a bit of a hide in the woods medicine woman. So I navigate, I know people can relate to that. I navigate the social media. I am very present with my community and my email relationships. And I do send videos and content and stuff like that.
You do. I've experienced this myself. So it's amazing. Wonderful. Oh, it's been such an enriching conversation on so many levels. I appreciate it, Jennifer. And before we part ways, I do have a question for you, a 2-part parting question.
Okay, awesome. I love an enriching conversation too. That makes me happy.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I feel expanded by having it. And I know that our viewers, I know you guys are feeling the same, just the sense of expansion and enrichment. It's like very internal. from inside out. Love
Yeah,
it.
I'm feeling that too. I'm buzzing.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Wonderful. Okay, so our
Yes.
closing question. What would you like to say you right now to yourself 5 years ago?
That's a really fun question.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the first thing that comes in is stay in vision. Like, and there's this word believe, believe. That's interesting. There's this word believe around really investing. This is what I would say to myself 5 years ago. Really be invested in what's possible for yourself. For me, 5 years ago, I was still we're all always growing and evolving. But I will say that I would have had a lot less drama or pain if I had been spending more time and energy in vision and possibility and believing in what my heart was calling me for, to break down my own torture chains. So that's what I would say to myself.
So vivid.
That's what I would say to myself.
Oh, I love that. So
Yeah.
vivid. Yeah, torture chains. Yeah. Oh, that's good.
I know. I'm
And
like, wait, where was I in 2000? Okay, anyway, that's what came up.
yeah, yeah, no, and yeah, it's so spot on. I don't
I
know
would,
about you, but yeah.
I would also say that to believe and honor my intuitive knowing, even if it didn't make sense,
Mm.
even if it logically, even if I was like trying to figure it out, to trust that knowing without proof of anything else.
Ah, wow. I just sent a quote to my tribe this morning. Um, oh my gosh, I'm going to screw it up, but it's all about trusting vision before your eyes can see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I screwed it up, but it's a really good quote. It's one sentence, but it's exactly that. You have to trust something about trusting vision before your eyes can see it. Yeah, it's awesome. All right, part two. What would you
Okay.
like to hear from your future self? So yourself 5 years from now says something to you now. What would it be?
Play bigger.
Play bigger.
Ooh, that's the big, like play bigger. That's a big thing that just came up.
Oh, woman, let's do it.
Like on every level.
Yeah.
Like, what would it be like to tie the $1 million? Like play bigger and possibility.
Oh my gosh. Love it, love it, love it.
That's really fun.
Yeah.
I love those surprise questions.
I love what comes through too, and I'm really inspired by the answers that we hear. So and I know that it's inspiring our viewers too. I love it.
Yeah, I'm excited
Yeah.
to hear what other people will have to say too.
Yeah, no, it's good. Thank you, Jennifer Riley. It's been a pleasure and enriching experience to be in this conversation with you. Thank you for being here with us today.
Yes, you're so welcome, Anna. It's been an honor to be here. It's so fun to co-create with you. And thank you to everyone whose soul called them to show up. Blessings and magic. Thanks for being in this community with us as we all expand and rise together.
Yes. Oh, I love it. Beautiful closing. Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you.
for now, everybody.
Bye.